Good morning, everyone, and those at home watching this on YouTube. We wish you could be here, but at least you're there. So we're getting to the end of our college information series. We are at the level of understanding college fit. This is one of my favorite presentations. I think here in California, we spend a lot of time saying UCs, 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 CSUs, 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 and we forget that there's over, I don't know, 2,500, 3,000 colleges. Actually, that's our next presentation. So we're going to talk about the sheer number of colleges and that next time. But first, we want you to understand how different all of these colleges are within the United States. So that's what this presentation is about. It's about understanding college fit. So let's do a quiz. Put your answer in the chat. Here's the question is, which of the following types of colleges might be a good fit for a student who values small class size and personalized attention from faculty? We've got large public university, community colleges, liberal arts colleges, or none of the above. I'm just going to throw in this is kind of a trick question. So let's see what we got. We got a lot of votes for C. Yes, liberal arts college. And if you don't know what that is, we're actually going to discuss that in a second. And the official answer would be C, but I am going to give a shout out to our community colleges because they also have small class sizes and personalized attention from faculty. But this is not a community college presentation. That's actually coming in a few weeks. So the answer in our case is a liberal arts college, but you're probably thinking, what the heck is a liberal arts college? Well, let's talk about that. So we've got a number of different types. And actually, this really oversimplifies it. It actually gets even more complex than this. There's various levels of research. There's various types of liberal arts. And so I've broken it down into three types of colleges because I think that works best when you're discussing it with students. So let's start with the small liberal arts. Now, first of all, they're not necessarily liberal and they don't only have the arts. And so this terminology throws a lot of people. There are liberal and conservative, and right in the middle, liberal arts colleges. So don't be fooled by what it's about. And you notice we've got humanities and arts and science and math and so many things. Once in a while, you'll have a liberal arts college that will have a professional program in it, like engineering or nursing. But for the most part, it's looking at your main topics in the humanities, in the sciences, and in the arts. And so it's a broad education in these areas. Now, what's special about a liberal arts college is it doesn't have graduate students or graduate studies. This means that all the focus goes to the undergraduate student. If there is a research project going on, the graduate students are not getting first dibs. It is that first year, second year, third year, fourth year student that is in the lab with the professors doing top-notch research. As I mentioned, limited to no professional programs. They do sneak in here and there. Once in a while, you'll get a liberal arts college that really has one or two specialty programs. And they do have smaller class size. They're smaller schools. They typically have, I've seen them as small as about 300, College of the Atlantic, up to about 2,500 would be a typical size for a liberal arts college. And so your class sizes are also small as well. Now, when you compare that to the universities, the university, if it has the term university on it, it typically means it has graduate programs of some sort. And so when we look at our UC system, which is the one that most people think about, we realize that there are graduate students getting PhDs. There's also master's levels as well as the undergraduate student. So while there's a lot of opportunity at small liberal arts colleges in research, the universities are at a much higher level with the amount of research that they're doing. And you'll see significantly more going on there. And so a lot of times universities will hold the research labs for statewide situations. They'll have health labs, they'll have science labs, and they're doing a lot of the cutting edge research there. But a lot of that research is going to the graduate students. So you kind of get a trade-off. Full access at the small liberal arts, and maybe you can join into a research project, but there's a lot of research projects going on. So you really have to think about what matters most. They're often medium to very, very large, 50,000, 60,000, 70,000 students, especially when you throw in graduate students. And then there's some that are kind of in the middle. I went to a university, actually went to the University of New Mexico. It had about 15,000 My son went to Reed College. My other one went to Evergreen. Both of those were small liberal arts. And I think my son was in, my older had about 1,200. So to give you an idea, very different atmospheres. Universities are typically the ones that have the full level of professional schools. So engineering, nursing, teaching, the list goes on. But when you have those really specialty programs, quite often you're going to find them at professional schools. There are some exceptions. It doesn't mean they don't exist. It doesn't mean you can't get an engineering degree at a small liberal arts. You just have to find out if it exists. So a small liberal arts college with an engineering degree would be Swarthmore, for example. At the other hand, most of your universities are going to have engineering. So some things to know. Also, small liberal arts tend to have your traditional majors. You're going to be doing your biology, you're going to be doing your chemistry, you're going to be doing your history. Whereas the universities tend to take those majors and really break them down into individual areas. You'll get a university that has 150 majors, where you'll get a small liberal arts college that has about 30. So your biology might be divided into microbiology and this biology and that biology, or you might have like really interesting, unusual programs um, at a university. So there are situations where a university will be necessary for a very, very specific interest. But at the same time, a lot of times the small liberal arts colleges can handle an interesting uh, major that might not be as common by doing it within a department. So you might be very interested in microbiology. You might be looking at a microbiology major at a university, but you know what? A biology degree at a small liberal arts will include microbiology. So some things just to realize about that division of small and large college. Now we have the specialty colleges, and these are the three most well-known: STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math. There are colleges that focus specifically on these majors, and there are two that are very well known. We have Caltech, we have MIT. And for some reason, everyone thinks that those are the only two. They're not. Another one that's highly selective, I'll just put this one out there as the trifecta, that is Harvey Mudd, which is here in Southern California, very, very small STEM school. They actually call themselves a liberal arts school with STEM, but they basically, you're a STEM major if you go, but they're big on the liberal arts. But if you look, every state has their own Institute of Technology type of school. Where I'm from New Mexico. We have New Mexico Tech, which is surprisingly amazing at getting students into graduate schools. It's very, very small. So there's a lot more attention given to undergraduate students. And we've got them in Oregon, in Washington. Every state will have its own tech, and sometimes there's private. We have WPI, we have like just a lot of Institute of Technologies or STEM schools. So if you are a student or you have a student who is really interested in just a deep dive into STEM, they hang out with a lot of STEM majors, that could be an option as well. We have art and music school, very important for iLEAD students. We have a lot of students that have left the traditional school because of their arts or because of music studies or dance. Typically art and music, art schools or music schools focus on that. And what makes them a little different, you're getting a Bachelor of Fine Arts, a Bachelor of Music. You've got a significantly higher concentration of art or music classes and a lower concentration of the required general education courses, which we're going to talk about in the next slide. We also have health sciences. I think as the need for healthcare grows, we have a lot of schools that have started to focus on nursing, focus on those other health sciences. So we have a variety of colleges. We have more than the University of California. I just want to say that. Like, there's other colleges in the universe. Anyway, moving on. So I want to talk about curriculum. And this is where colleges really, really vary from each other. So in the traditional sense, and especially if you're looking at the traditional large state colleges, you're looking at general education requirements, a major and a minor. And a lot of you are doing concurrent enrollment. You've actually seen what those general education requirements in our country, in the United States, which is very different from almost every other country, we require a well-rounded education. So not only are you concentrating on the thing that you're interested in or your major, you are selecting from a variety of liberal arts courses. Remember that liberal arts college had your math and science and history and English and all those things? You're choosing from a variety of these courses to make you more well-rounded. I get people that say, I'm going into engineering. I don't need to worry about English. Oh, yes, you do. Not just for college, but for your job. And so don't think that history is no longer important. Don't think that chemistry is no longer important if you're a history major. And so our college system typically requires these types of classes to make you more than just what you're studying. Now, these vary drastically from college to college, from the colleges that let you kind of choose the liberal arts classes that you're interested in to those that have a very, very strict core and everyone takes the same general education requirements. And so, depending upon your feeling about general education requirements, wanting more well-rounded or wanting less, that also goes into the selection process. How strict are they with their general education requirements? When you look at our UC CSU system, you can see they're very strict. They want a wide range, whereas others might only want you to choose from 4 different areas as opposed to 7 different areas. So every college treats this a little bit differently. You also have your major and your minor. A major is your deep dive into your preferred topic. And so let's say you want to major in math, you're going to be doing most of your higher level, your harder classes in math. As you move through college, you're going to be having more and more of those math or history or film or chemistry or whatever. You're going to be having more and more of them until basically by the time you're near the end of your college experience, you are basically concentrating on those classes because you've got most of your general education requirements out of the way and you're really doing a deep dive. A lot of people can't choose. They want to study something else as well. That would be your minor. It's a secondary topic. It's a deep dive, but not at the level of a major. So you might have, knowing who's in my room right now, you might have a major in film. And then you might have a minor in creative writing because maybe you want to do some film critique. So maybe you have a minor in history because you want to do documentaries. So there are ways to kind of put these together, but this is the typical curriculum. However, there are alternatives. And, traditional curriculums are not necessarily for everyone. And so we have some alternatives, and I wanted to add this to this presentation to allow you to know that it doesn't always have to look the same. And especially we're in a non-traditional school here at iLEAD, so sometimes looking at that non-traditional curriculum makes sense for a lot of our learners. So the first one I want to touch on is the open interdisciplinary curriculum. This is one that has limited to no general education requirements. Those classes are still available, but you get to choose whether you want to take them, how many you want to take, and kind of the direction you want to go. You're typically doing it with guidance. We're not throwing you in and saying, figure it out. You typically have an advisor that is helping you put a program together. And you can choose if you want to concentrate in a specific area. My younger son attended Evergreen, which is one of these open interdisciplinary curriculum. It's also, for his, it was multidisciplinary. Every class was actually a combination of 2 or 3 classes. And some will require you to choose a major, and some will allow you to not have a major at all, or they might all have the same major. So if that sounds appealing to you, we've got a lot of choices here. There is Evergreen, there's College of the Atlantic. Sometimes they're within big colleges. So for example, we have a university here in Southern California, Redlands, which is a traditional college, but in the middle of Redlands is another college called the Johnston Center, which has this open interdisciplinary curriculum. And they also give you access to all the traditional classes as well. So there are ways to just do something completely different. Now, the grading system is really interesting as well because there are colleges that have no grades or will give you the option for grades. And instead, and let me make this really clear, just because you're not graded doesn't mean you're not evaluated, but their evaluation system is different than A, B, C, D, F. Instead, you're getting a deep dive into how you did in that class, and your transcript is a class by class description of what you did, how you did. At Evergreen, this is how they did it. And we got to know that my son made it to about one third of his classes because that was in the narrative evaluation for one of his classes. He was having a bad semester. But the faculty really explains how well you went in depth, what your knowledge is about the subject, and you actually get a lot more information about how a student did in these narrative evaluations. Um, I want to also touch on alternative schedules and programs. We've got a couple colleges in the United States. Colorado College comes to mind. That's a selective college. There's one in Wyoming. Cornell College, not to be mixed with Cornell University, Cornell College, they have one class at a time block schedules. So that means instead of taking 5 classes, you're taking one, and that one class is very, very fast. Maybe it's 4 weeks. That can be good and that can be bad. If you are someone who really needs to concentrate on one thing at a time, it's great. If you are somebody who loathes math, that's bad during that 1 4 week math session. So, you have some good and some bad with it, but most of those are also small liberal arts colleges. I think the one in Wyoming is actually a public college. And then, so those type of programs might be very, very good if you are interested in just really being able to concentrate. A lot of students that might have an ADHD type of thing also, where 5 classes is just too much. I mentioned, excuse me, my son at Evergreen, his was multidisciplinary. It was on a block schedule, and the classes were mixed together with 2 professors at the same time, allowing him to concentrate on one schedule, multiple subjects. It was a fascinating situation. So there are other options outside what's typical. That's what I love about our education system. Okay, I'm going to put my chat back up here. We got a quiz. Um, yeah, this is my quizzes are easy. You should see them when I do classes. Quizzes are easy. Which of the following resources can help students determine their college fit? College fairs, campus visits, college search websites, or all of the above? Yeah, all of the above. Of course, we've got so many ways to figure out what the college is like. But now that you're looking and you can see that colleges are significantly different, going to fairs or visits or websites is a vital aspect of it. What does a curriculum look like? What are the requirements? What is a class like? So you really need to dig a little deeper than just a college name. So let's look at touring. Touring is one of my favorite things to do. And I love the fact that we're in Southern California, especially those of us who are in like the Los Angeles, Orange County area. You have choices. And what I usually suggest is that families, and this is a student parent thing together. We do tours as well, but this is something that I think having a parent go, having a student go, asking the questions. I suggest that students tour different styles of colleges, and not because you want to go to that college. What you're doing is you're getting a vibe. You're getting a feel for what a small liberal arts, what a research university, what a religious, what a STEM, what a woman's college feels like to see if it's a place where you would be happy. So take that tour of UCLA or Riverside or UCI. Get a feel for what it feels like to walk around campus. Get a feel for the dorms. Get a feel for that large vibe. And they're different from each other too. UCLA has a rah-rah vibe. UCI is a little, well, they make you yell you're an aardvark. I don't know on the tours, but they're a little different from each other, but you're going to get a general idea. Go to those small colleges and see if you feel comfortable or suffocated. So, for example, I always recommend people take a tour of, and I give a few choices. Occidental is one of my favorites. It's about 2,500 students. It's a small liberal arts college. I also suggest the Claremont colleges. You've got your Pomonas, you've got your Pitzers, that up there. We've also got STEM colleges. We've got Harvey Mudd and Caltech within driving distance. We've got a lot of small faith-based colleges. Most of our faith-based colleges here are actually liberal arts colleges. I think there are some larger, more research university oriented religious colleges outside the state, but most of ours fall into that liberal arts category. But tour them. And then once you get a feeling, then you know where to aim. If you realize that you want that small liberal arts experience, you know what colleges to take off your list, and then we start adding more colleges. And so take those tours. You're not deciding on that college, you're deciding on that style. When you take a tour, don't just walk around. You're not going to get what you need. You want to do the info session and the scheduled tour. The tour itself is usually student run. And if the student is honest, they'll tell you about the food and they'll tell you about the dorm. They are asked to put a positive spin on the college, but they will a lot of times give you, is it hard to get in the classes? Well, here's the way that you can deal with that. Um, the info sessions are usually done by the staff. And so an admission officer is typically doing the info session while the student is typically doing the tour. And that means the info session, they're talking about how to apply the requirements, what they're expecting with essays, which applications to use, their early decision versus early action versus regular decision policies. So you're getting two totally different views of the college. So do the official stuff. If you have a chance, a lot of them will let you eat in the dining room, speak to the students, visit the bookstore, tour the dorms. And this is really interesting because you should be doing this before as you start to figure out. You can also tour after. So after you've made made all your applications and you have it, sometimes taking an after tour gives you another view of the college. So I like doing it both, but for that vibe. If you're going to attend fairs, don't just walk around and grab a merch off the table. They're going to give you pens and they're going to give you squishy balls and they're going to give you lots and lots of brochures. Talk to the reps. A lot of them were students at that college. A lot of them have been there for a number of years. Ask them questions. Get a list of questions ahead of time that you might want to ask them. And you can also sign up for one-on-one sessions on informational interviews with college representatives. Before COVID, college representatives were really afraid of Zoom. It was kind of funny. I was actually going to do a presentation at a conference about how to use Zoom for college visits, and then COVID hit, and now everybody's comfortable. So now, since that time, they've actually added tours that are virtual on their like live tours where you're walking around with a student and you're viewing it, but it's virtual. So you have these opportunities virtually also to speak to the college reps and to get an idea of a college that may not be accessible to you. Maybe you want to see what's going on in Washington or in, I don't know, the other Washington on the other side of the country. Maybe you want to see outside of Los Angeles. This gives you an opportunity to do that. I have some tools that I really, really like. The best 390, I think it's 391 now. They keep changing the number. Every year is a little bit different. That was 2025's version. The FISC Guide, I really like these two particular books. It's more than just a list of colleges. What they do is they go in and they poll the college students at hundreds of colleges, and they get college reviews. And so when you're looking at things like the US News Report, which you notice is not on here, I don't like it because they're actually asking the colleges which colleges they like best. They're asking the staff. Here, these two books, they're asking the students. And so you get quite a bit of a vibe check that way as well. And they have some really interesting lists in there, like students where, or colleges where the professors are most accessible, and then there's a list of colleges where the professors are least accessible. That's the Princeton Review. The colleges with the most drinking, the colleges with no drinking, the colleges where best classroom, not best classroom, all kinds of stuff. Colleges That Changed Lives is a fabulous book. Well, it was 40, but they keep adding colleges. They just added Redlands, they've added Oberlin recently, but these are liberal arts colleges that are very student-centered. This particular book was written by Lauren Pope, he's since passed away, but he was the editor of the New York Times education section. And one day he decided to get a list of those colleges that students who were interviewed about them continuously said, this college changed my life. And he put them together. And it was 40 colleges, but now it has since grown as the colleges created their own sort of nonprofit and they travel and they tour together. They've added other colleges that they feel really becomes part of the experience. And so that is a great book. We also have websites and things like that. So we got a lot of opportunities for that. And that is not the only place. We're gonna do a tour real quick, but first I got a quiz. Which of the following factors should be considered when determining college fit? Academic programs and majors, location, campus culture, size and student body, or all of the above? I know. My quizzes are so ridiculously easy. And the answer for those at home is, of course, it's E. We're not really talking about campus culture as much, but that is also something, you know, what does it feel like on campus? What is a student body like? Even as far as what is the political leanings, how accessible are professors? Is there a lot of partying versus non-partying? That's campus culture. And so these are all things that matter, and these are all things you find out through touring and by researching the books and the websites and things like that that you saw before. Okay. So how do I find the college? Well, we have our very own search tool, and all high school students have access to it. And high school students have the ability to give their parent access to their parent's own account as well, which does not disturb the learner's account. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, instead of reading this, I'm going to actually go to Score. So let me hit my escape. We're going to hope that Score is still open and that I don't have to log in. Yes, it's still open. Whoops. Hang on, I'm in the wrong place. I wanted to show you that later. Let me get back to my search. Okay, sorry. I thought I was prepared, but I'm not. So we are currently looking at Score. Now you're looking, mine is kind of boring because I have the administrator viewpoint. If you go into your Score account, it's going to be colorful. There's going to be links. And right in the beginning is the link to this discovery tool. So it should say discover, and you might see the link at the top, or it takes you right in through the front page. And it's going to lead you to this kind of more boring page. But I'm starting here because it's what I got. And so you can see that what we've got is, I can tell you because I looked earlier, there's about 2,000 colleges in front of you right now. You don't realize that. I haven't filtered it, but we can go ahead and we can filter. Now, there's a couple ways to filter. You can do it here. Academic Focus gives you lots of choices. You can look at whether you're interested in a 4-year or a 2-year. Notice I've selected 4-year because of this particular presentation. We even have added career and trade schools, which is something new. That wasn't there just 2 years ago. Looking at the degrees, do they have certificates or bachelor's? You can look at the location in terms of they have some international within the country. You can also break it down by region and break it down by state. You can look at it by size, small, medium, large, and you can select more than one. You can also look at location. Do you prefer city, suburban, town, or rural? But these are great filters, but there's some things missing. So I prefer the all filter. And the all filter gives you all of those, but adds a few other things in. So we're going to use the chat box here. I'm going to ask you some questions. We're going to search for schools based on your interests. So somebody give me a thing they want to study or they think their learner wants to study. Drop it in the chat. Let's see what you get. Okay, psychology, history. Oh, we got 2 votes for history. That's what we're going to do then. First come, first serve, but oh, we have marine biology, history. Oh my gosh. HISTOR. Okay, perfect. Now, notice as I'm typing, I get 2 different types of responses. And this is one of the reasons I wanted to show you this. So the general academic focus of history is going to get everything. It's going to get all areas of history. But we also have majors. You might be tempted to click architectural history, criticism, and conservation, and it's going to give you a couple of colleges there, but it's going to block out most history. So be very, very careful of choosing a general major because the major is according to the name used by the university, and you may miss some things. So I always recommend, excuse me, that we choose the main major of history. Now we've got some others. We've got marine biology. And look at that. We've got marine sciences, MARINE. Let's see if we got, yes. So if I keep going, I've got a specific major, but that major may be missed if I get too specific. So I've got general majors. I've got specific majors. I'm going to go with marine sciences. Hopefully that won't knock out too much. And we've got STEM at a liberal arts college. So this is a little bit tougher, Tegan, because you'll see as we go. We can do something like math, whoops, and then we can say liberal arts, and that'll allow us to do that focus. So I'm going to go ahead and choose math. We've got variety of interests. And then we're going to go ahead and notice that we've knocked it down to 1,660 colleges from over 2,200. If I get rid of one of these, you can see that we're probably going to go up. But what we're doing is we have a student that just has a lot of interest and they want to make sure they have access to history, math, and marine sciences. So we'll see what we get. We can keep going down. We have two-year colleges here as well. So if you're interested in a community college and want to make sure it has your major, this score now works for that as well. School size. Okay, let's see who gets it first. Small, medium, or large? Who's going to do it in the chat first? That's the one we're going to choose. Ah, large it is. Okay. Donovan's a quick typer. So we are looking at over 10,000 students. Look what happened to our list. 309 colleges. Just for entertainment, if we click medium, we've got 595. And if we click small, we've got 756. Your liberal arts are most likely going to be in your small. But it was first come, first serve. We're going to go with the large, where we've got only 309. That actually really, really narrows it down. Okay, let's see what happens when we pick setting. Oh, and one more thing, by the way, you can also do large and medium. You're not limited. We're going to keep it with large because that 300 is going to be much better than the combination. Okay, city, suburban, town, rural. Do you want the cornfields? Oh, we got a suburban's first. Okay, so now we are down to 58 colleges. We're doing well. We're doing well. We're actually going to be able to look at some colleges. When you looked before and you noticed that I said location and it gave you states and it gave you regions, what it didn't give you was distance. And so when you are a student who wants to live at home, this distance matters because you can put in, somebody randomly give me a zip code. Just a random zip code. I'm not going to tell anyone who. Okay, here it is, 91390. Somebody is in Santa Clarita. And now we can choose, let's say we got 16. Close by, we've got 2. And I can see that they're both community colleges. So we can see if you're living in Santa Clarita, it's going to be tough. I'm going to go ahead and do 1 to 2 hour drive. It brings it up to 8 colleges. 2 of them so far are community colleges. I can just happen to see that. So you can see that if you are concerned about living at home, this will help you see if that's possible. I'm going to go ahead and remove this though. I'm going to go ahead and use some of the other aspects of it, but I wanted to make sure you knew it was there. Okay, international, just for fun. Oh, one college that has all 3 of those. So we are going to keep it in the United States. We're going to leave both of them up. We're going to leave both of them up. By the way, not all international colleges are here, but we do have some. Okay, we can do it by region. Let's take a look and see how many we get. Somebody give me in the chat, northeast, southwest, midwest, south. Somebody. Okay, you know what? Donovan's really fast. Okay, and what it does is it gives me 21 colleges now, and you can see that it's also giving me the specific states. So let's say I like the South, but I don't want to go to Alabama because there's too many bugs. And so I can get rid of a state as well, and I can add a state by just typing it in. So what I'm going to do is we had a vote here for Midwest as well. And so I'm going to get rid of some of these and just show you kind of what happens when we do Midwest. Once we have them in here, we have to get them out of here. And so I'm just clicking them away. Okay, let's try Midwest and see what we get. Oh, Midwest, here we go. And now we get Illinois, Indiana. We got 8 colleges. So we're really narrowing it down. You know what? I want to do the Midwest and the West, just in case I want to stay in California. Can do both. I don't know if it gets rid. Oh, it does get rid of it. So you can see that we have the ability to do certain areas. And if you want to just do it by state, you can do that as well. Got 10 colleges in California. I'm going to leave it at California just to narrow it down. Admission, I usually leave this alone because I find that it doesn't match what people think selectivity is. If we want the most selective, we're going to get basically Stanford. Nope, we're not even getting, oh, because I bet it doesn't have marine. We'll find out. Highly selective, what do we get? No, very selective. Okay, see, it doesn't match what I would necessarily think is logical. So leave that one alone. You can add test score ranges, but with the test optional world right now, I wouldn't necessarily use that. Looks like this is interesting. So what I'm going to do is this is only giving me public colleges. I'm going to go up here and I'm going to remove math and marine science just so that I know that we're still in public colleges. What is it that's making this public? I'm going to add some small colleges. And oh, there we go. Okay. I just wanted to be able to show it all to you, but you could see one of the things that happened is as we narrowed it down, we only ended up with public state schools. We would only have ended up with the UC and CSU system with the particular things that we had. As soon as I added some small colleges, we got some others. So I wanted to talk about the private not-for-profit, the private for-profit, and public. Public colleges are your UCs and CSUs in California. If it has a something state or a university of something, not all the time, but often that's a way of University of California. Once in a while, it throws you University of Southern California. Notice that Southern is in there. That's not a state school. That's a private, not-for-profit college. So you can see that, the publics are going to be your UCs, and you can see it kind of behind. I'm gonna show them in a second. And we can also do privates. Going to give us, so it looks like we got Pomona and Whittier. We're going to look at both of these in a sec. And I'm curious if we have any for-profits. Not there. So for-profit colleges tend to be those colleges that, well, are for-profit. You might get your University of Phoenix types and things like that. So there are for-profit. Also, we've got a lot of trade and tech schools that might be for-profit. A little bit better in that case. But we have the option. I'm going to go private and public. Religious affiliation, which is really interesting here, is if you want to weed out, you can put not applicable. If you want to keep it in, a lot of times you need to click numerous ones to make sure you get the full array. So if I were to do all of these just to make sure that I got all the religious colleges in there, you can see from the background that we now have a nice list there. So I'm going to make them all of them. So I'm going to do everything. If you are very interested in athletics and you want to make sure you have a rah-rah football, you can do that as well. I'm not going to because it's going to limit us too much. You can put down interest, believe it or not. You can look at Quidditch if you're a Harry Potter fan, just showing you that everything is here. If you're interested in military programs, ROTC, you're interested in the Air Force, you can see that there are ROTC programs at 7 of these colleges. So I'm going to go ahead and remove that, and I've got 22. Now, for the most part, we do have four-year colleges, and you can see that we've got Santa Barbara, Fullerton. These are all public, and it tells you right here, public, public, Davis, Cal Poly, SLO. Now we have Pomona, and you can see right here, 1,700, pretty high SAT, ACT, very low admission rate. Whittier, much higher admission rate, very small school. And when we find one we like, I'll tell you what, I just scrolled. I'm going to go to the top and I'm going to scroll quickly, see what you see. Somebody put one of these colleges into the chat box and I'm going to click it through. Whittier. Wait, do we have another one down below? Okay, you know what? I like Whittier, even though you're faster than everyone and we keep using yours. I'm going to go to Whittier because I really like it. Yes, go Poets. Here we go. So this is what you get inside SCORE, and there's some really cool aspects here. This is a tour. I'm not going to push it because it's going to open a whole new page and we can actually walk through campus and there's a guide and everything. A lot of these have the tours, not all of them, but a lot of them have the tours. And so that's a really great way to get to know the school. We got a link to the website. We've got a name on there that we didn't want to see. We've got some fields of study, 48, admission rate 81%. Don't knock it. It's still a great school. Don't let admission rate be your guide. It just means they have space. Don't worry about that yet. I'm going to show you some tips and tricks. But what I really want to show you is this. So what's really nice about SCORE is when a student is in SCORE, they follow different colleges. And when they follow those colleges, and SCORE is a national, international application. So students that are following Whittier College in SCORE, they've clicked that follow button that I don't have here because this is an admin account. They click that follow button. These are other colleges that people that followed Whittier also followed. University of Laverne, that's probably by distance. University of Redlands, that's also local, great college. This is a community college, which I'm finding interesting. Cal Poly Pomona, St. Mary's College. So it gives you an idea of other colleges that would be similar. I want to show you the same thing here with Pomona College, not Cal Poly, but Pomona College. It's going to give us the same one. And now we've got a different list of colleges. You've got some by location. Claremont McKenna is in the five C's. It's a Claremont College. You've got Swarthmore in Pennsylvania, Amherst. These are all small liberal arts colleges. So as you start to become interested, remember I said, get that vibe check, take that tour. Well, you know what? You got a good vibe for Pomona College. Where else do people look who are interested in Pomona College? Well, they look at Occidental, they look at Bowdoin, they look at Tufts and Williams. A lot of these are very selective. So you also want to kind of spread out as well. But I really like this aspect. We're going to do another one just to show you people that are interested in not UCA, UCLA. People that are interested in UCLA will get the same choices here. And suddenly we have UCs. And so you can kind of get an idea, but we've also added now Northwestern, University of Michigan, Carnegie Mellon. People that are interested in those, you can see where they followed. So as you go through, we have a little, we have choices. Westmont is a popular one, and I'm going to put it up here because it's a local Christian college. And so as we look at those differences, you can see that we've got an interesting combo. We've got local Christian colleges as well. We've also got Cal Poly SLO, University of San Diego, Chapman. So we might be looking at location. We might be looking at style of the college. So you can see it really changes and it gives you some ideas. And you can click through. I'm going to click through University of San Diego. This one doesn't have a tour. And so it gives you an idea. Now I want to go back. I want to go back to UCLA because I want to show you something. Now, another thing that you can do in SCORE, oh, we got a tour, is up here is this little scattergram. And this little scattergram is very, very cool because if we've had a lot of iLEAD students applying to a specific college, we have data. Now, notice I'm in private mode. I can actually see the students, but you can't. This heat map kind of tells you the GPA and the test scores, but this is misleading because most of our students don't do tests. Whoops, I don't know why it moved, but most of our students don't do tests. So what I like to do is instead of just using GPA, come over here, it's moving around. I like to go to this list and it gives me, you notice you're not showing you the students, but the students are there. I actually have access to that, but you don't because of course that's confidential. But you can kind of see the GPA and you can see the outcomes. So when I look at application type, I'm going to actually go by outcome. You can see the accepted students. You can see their GPAs. Look at the wide range of GPAs. This is weighted, by the way. We're only using weighted GPA. You can see we've got a 4.0 and a 4.79. And as we click through, you can see that as we move here, look, we got a 4.48 and a 3.92. Rhyme or reason with UCLA. What I like doing is going down here. You can also look. UCLA is problematic for iLEAD because I can't get all the results for UCLA. So I'm missing results. I do my best to get them into SCORE, but this is based on what I have access to from our learners. And you can see our acceptance rate is actually pretty good. So we had 11 apply, 2 accepted, our total is 17% overall of those I've been able to collect. I want to do one where I have definite accessible data because I have access to San Diego. So I'm going to go in here. I'm going to do the same thing. This is legitimate data because San Diego shares their results with me. So now I know who got in and who didn't, and I actually put it into SCORE. And now we get a better idea of the San Diego acceptance rate over time. And you can see that we're pretty good as far as San Diego goes. We do pretty well. So our overall acceptance rate since I started collecting data here, San Diego wasn't sharing data with me. I don't have the data. Here, they started sharing it with me, and I've been able to collect. And so you can see we've done pretty well with San Diego. We can do this at private colleges as well, but only if we have enough students for us to calculate. If there's fewer than, I don't know if it's 5 or 10, they won't give you the data because you could figure out who the student is. It's only if we have a wide number of students. Now, I want to show you something else in here. I want to show you cost and aid, since we're in SCORE, might as well show you. That was a really scary price we see. The list price is 41,000, including room and board, but the average price, 14,000. That's what the average person is paying. There's discounts, all kinds of stuff. More importantly, you can do it by income. So if you are on the lower end, the price is significantly lower than on the higher end. So I just wanted to show you that you have some really interesting things here in score. So let me go ahead. I'm going to go back over here, see if we've got any other slides left. That was a whirlwind tour, but I wanted to show you that you got it. Okay. I've got some college fit tools. We've had a long meeting where I take you into Coursera. Coursera is one of my favorite. It's yeah. Okay. Yeah, we can look at that during our Q&A if we want. I'm gonna not put that on the 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 YouTube channel. But Coursera is a really cool way of going through the things that are important to you and saying whether they're mandatory must-have or whether they're absolutely no way. And it helps you. There's about 100 cards, and you go through and it asks you about disability services and beautiful dorms and good food and accessible professors and all these things that are important or not important. And it gets really, really into the weeds here. So things you might not be thinking about as well comes up here. So you have free access to that as a student. You also have access through my account. I'm happy to give the link when we go into the chat. We also have just a college personality test. There's all kinds of things on there that help you figure out what the best fit is. I'm gonna not do Coursera until our Q&A, but those at home, let me know. And whoops, went the wrong direction. Oh, did I go the right direction? Ah, make an appointment. There we go. Oh, this was supposed to be taken away. We don't, this was last year's. Our tour of Biola University was last year, so ignore that. But this is how you can make an appointment and see us. And you can see that we have two more sessions coming up, a building a balanced list and also transfer programs. So on that note, just ignore that. On that note, I'm going to sign off for our friends at home. I'm going to continue with the Q&A. We can take a look at Coursera if you guys want to. Otherwise, make an appointment with me. And I thank you for coming to my TED Talk, so to speak.